Hello, everyone. Welcome to, I would say, a little chilly. It's a little chilly day today. I don't know where in the country you are with us today, but I am here in Southern California and I'm just getting used to this fall weather. If this is your first time with us, well, let me say hello. My name is Sadie Uribe and I'm the media producer for the Los Angeles Regional SBDC. The SBDC is a national program with over 1,000 locations across the country, helping to stimulate economic growth through business advising and development. We offer no cost services to the local businesses through funding provided by the U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA, and from the California Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, GoBiz. The Los Angeles Regional Small Business Development Center network serves small businesses throughout Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. And what do? Well, we offer no cost business advising, meaning that you can meet one on one via phone or Zoom to address your specific needs and challenges. And we also offer virtual training and amazing programs such as this wonderful show to help and adapt and grow your business. So, on that note, I am going to say hello to one of my favorite people in the world. Lori, how are you, my love?
Well, hello and good morning and welcome everybody. I was just saying to Sadie, is anybody else out there that cannot believe it's like October next week? I don't know where the year has come. I know I keep saying this, but one of the things that Sadie said to me the other day that I'm still laughing at, and she said, if you really want to get something done, give it to a busy person. I never heard that, and I thought that was hilarious. And that's how I keep telling myself, "Well, just give it to a busy person and things will get done." And I definitely feel like I'm a busy person as well as you guys out there. So, hey, we got a thing with the chat being disabled. We got to get that chat going, Sadie, so everybody can talk amongst themselves. Good morning, Emma. Always good for you to be watching our back. So make sure that chat's abled. And do guys, when I talk about the chat, it automatically goes host and panelist. So make sure it clicks down to everybody because sometimes I see your wonderful comments, but nobody else gets to see them. Okay, the usual. It's October. Here's my new financial literacy series. I am, as always, offering the best legal structure for my company and the tax advantages, but this will be the last month that it's going to be one session. It's really a popular webinar. There's so much confusion and incorrectness, I'd have to say, about LLCs and S corps, and people are signing up for these things, not understanding what they're getting into. And so I've been talking about this for a while, but the presentation is kind of long. I go into a lot of detail, and I've decided, you know what? I really need to cut it into two, so I got more time to slow down and ask questions. So I think, and I'm kind of playing with it right now. In November, you're going to see one that's going to talk about sole props and LLCs and a little bit of an S corp, and then I'm going to create one really around the tax portion, especially the S corp. So that's going to mean I'm going to include some more information as well. So that's kind of an update on what I have coming around the corner. As far as upcoming shows, we've got Dahlia next week from DF Accounting Services. And like I said, one thing I've asked her to come on and talk about is how to interview, choose, hire a good tax preparer. And oh, yeah, with October around the corner, I know it's not tax season for you yet, but it's time to start interviewing them. Especially the small business tax preparers, they get a full client load. So if you wait until February or March, you're not going to get a good pick, guys. So if you're not happy with your tax preparer, you don't have a tax preparer yet, now is the time to start getting that interviewing going. And Daly is going to come on and give us some insights on that. Then on October 9th, Sebastian is part of the members of the Access to Capital through the SBDC. He's been on the show before. I've asked him to come back on and kind of give us an update, what's going on in the lending community. Are there any grants out there? The answer is probably no, so be prepared for that. But he really works a lot with the micro lenders and has a lot of conversations with different lenders out in the lending community. So he has a wealth of information, and I'm real excited to have him come back on and talk about it. Today, I'm just going to do a quick shout out about business license. People get really confused on business license, and I just have three examples that I'm showing on your screen, but I want to speak just in general. What is a business license? Many times people don't think they need a business license They don't know if they need a business license. They think if they're a sole prop, they don't need it, but if they're incorporated, they need it. So it's a lot of confusion. So here's the way to understand this. Back in the olden days, guys, before there were online businesses, if you had a business, you pretty much set up what we called a brick and mortar. You had a physical location. So when you think about a local jurisdiction, Pasadena, Long Beach, the local jurisdictions, Glendale in this case, they would charge a business license as a way to make additional tax revenue. And that was to have the right, if you will, to do business in the city. And that usually was equated in most people's minds to a physical location, but it really also was about the right to do business. Now, with the proliferation of online people working out of their home, not having as many physical locations, of course, the tax revenues were going down. Places don't like that, right? So they started extending the requirement for a business license to anybody operating a home business. This could be sitting at your kitchen table selling a few things on Amazon, guys. That is considered what is the key word, and I have it here, is doing business. So this term doing business, it sounds like it's a slang, but it's actually become quite a legal term, and that means engaging in any business activities. Notice I didn't say sales. It's just you can be doing expenses, you can be, setting up a website, selling things on Amazon, buying something to resell. That is doing business. You're engaging in an activity. Over in LA City Office of Finance, they call it conducting business activities. Now, sometimes it's still called a business license, like in Long Beach. Office of Finance has a totally different word they use, business tax registration certificate. That's a mouthful. And Glendale uses a completely different word. They use it a home occupation permit and say if you wish to open a business located inside your home, you need a home occupation permit. Then there's also these unique situations because you might be in an unincorporated area, and some places, like I think Malibu might, in unincorporated, and some not do and some don't. And so there's actually websites you go in and you plug in your address and it gives you some indication. My summary: business license are not associated with anything to do with the legal structure. It's associated with doing business, right? And a business license is decided upon whether you need it based on the locality of which you're operating in. Okay. Now, when you're operating, that means you're conducting business. So the minute you start, you're technically operating. If you're opening an LLC or you're getting a seller's permit or something like that, they already have you legally registered. So you need to make sure you have the business license. So technically, you need to have a business license in place before you begin any kind of operations. Now, one could say, hey, I'm just playing with the website right now. Maybe you don't have to get a business license, but the minute you start saying, okay, I got a website, I'm paying for, cost of goods, I'm buying stuff, I got a bank account. Now I would make sure that you get the business license. So hopefully that answers it on anonymous, not once revenue is coming in. No. Now, of course, that's the legal thing. Where's the paper trail for them to follow? But technically, and the illegal concept is the minute you start engaging in business activities. And so you think about it, you're in getting revenue, you're already into the sales, you already engaged in a business activity, you've done things to begin. And by the way, a shout out on the Office of Finance on that is that, I talked about paper trail. Some localities are more apt to do cross references with like tax returns and seller permits and come after you if you don't have a business license. Office of Finance in the LA City is really, really a stickler about that. So if you're located within their area, even LA County covers some of that, you want to make sure you stay on top of this. And one more shout out on that. So what they have is they have this rule on the books, and they've had it for years, that if you have under 100,000 in revenue, you are not subject to additional business taxes. But if you don't have a business license or you don't fill out the renewal form by February something, I can't remember the exact date, you are not under that exemption and you have to pay taxes on any sales that you made. So this is one of those things you really want to stay on. As always, Sadie's going to put my information in the chat. You have a question about business license, need some additional research done on your locality. It's not easy, guys. So if you're having a hard time doing it, I have to look up, and people give me a new, yesterday it was Westlake I had to look up, and it's not like you can just find it easy. So if you're struggling, there's a reason, reach out to me and I will be glad to help you on that. Okay, let's get started with today. Today is a special show, guys. To those frequent flyers that have been with me for a very long time, you've probably been here. I think it's about 2, 3 weeks ago. I can't remember now, where Kathleen Vicenzotti was on the show, and she's the co-owner of JAK's Concrete Coatings. Now, what's interesting is Kathleen also owns Selling Edge and has been a sales trainer for years. So, with over 35 years of experience as a sales and marketing executive, Kathleen has seen it all. She earned her MBA from the University of Pittsburgh, has led teams at Fortune 100 companies like Ford Motor Company, owned a State Farm insurance company, and currently, like I said, owns JAK Concrete Coatings in Signal Hill. Now, with that, last time she was on, I asked her to come on to talk about her company, but she was also talking about sales because she handles the selling portion. Well, we got a lot of interest from the audience asking about sales and sales training. And as you guys know, as being entrepreneur, many of you don't identify yourself as a salesperson, but hello, welcome, you are now. So I asked Kathleen if she would come on, and instead of the Lori style interview, I'm going to give Kathleen the ropes and I'm going to ask her to take us through a little bit of sales training. And she's also going to talk about some of the courses she offers. And if you want to get a little bit more training, you can go from there. So, Kathleen, thank you for coming on and welcome, welcome to the show.
Oh my goodness, my pleasure. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me back. We did have fun on
We
that
did.
last
Yes, we did.
episode.
We
And
did. Well, you're fun anyway. You're absolutely fun, to be. So, first of all, did I leave anything out? I bounced around your bio. I really wanted to get it out there that we're going to do a sales training. Is there anything you want to add or catch the audience up about you or your background in sales or the Selling Edge, the company you're launching to do sales training? Let's give us a little bit of a background and more information as you desire.
oh, awesome. I would love to share a little bit of information about that. So, yep, my husband and I, as you said, own JAK Concrete Coatings. And part of that, I do lead and grow the sales team. And through my networking and through meeting other business owners and sales professionals, I really realized that there was a need for sales development and training because a lot of small business owners just don't have the resources, quite frankly, to either hire a full-time sales manager or to hire a training and development company to come in and really coach and develop their sales team. There are a lot of resources that you can use out there that are free, but sometimes you just need that little extra help to help you get some systems in place, or you want to have somebody to talk to about your particular business and how you can optimize your sales funnel, your sales process, because we know no matter what type of business you have, if you're not selling your product or service, you're not in business.
Yeah, it's so true. And Kathleen, we were talking a little bit before we went live, and I was saying, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, even seasoned salespeople, sometimes you just don't want to engage in the hardcore sales stuff. You just don't. And I think we've been led to believe a little bit erroneously that we can hide behind social media and we can just post on social media and we don't have to do the sales calls. But my experience, and you connect with this on your level, is that it's not true because whether you're using distribution channels, you still got to sell to the distribution and the retail. You just seem to like in life you're always selling, and I don't think you can get away with not selling. And I know I'm rambling here, but I also think a lot of small companies are failing a bit on getting the revenue and the clients because they're not wanting to get out behind the computer. I'll stop there and let you take it. That was my whole rampage on what I've noticed.
Right, it's a double-edged sword. So just out of curiosity, I know we have a diverse audience here watching. I would be curious, how many of you are really e-commerce business, meaning the majority of your business is digital, like put digital in the comments, or maybe you're a service provider where you actually have a product or service that you deliver to a customer that requires some high touch. I would just love to know just from our audience, but like you said, so often we have to have a blend of both. And technology, with the pandemic, really shifted a lot of people to lean into digital and selling only behind the computer and using social media marketing. But what you have to do is sales is still a relationship business, and it's still about developing that relationship with your customer through many different tools, whether that's events in person, um, creating community, really just building those relationships with your clientele and your customers. And you do have to step out from behind social media and into the space of connecting with your clients and really taking a look at the fact that digital not only shifted from how we're selling, but also from a consumer standpoint. And if you think about it now, it's very easy for a customer to compare companies, right? With just a few clicks, all of a sudden your competition has just uh, exponentially increased because people can really they're more educated consumers, they have more information. So you really have to differentiate yourself and set yourself apart, and offering that service net relationship and knowing who your customer is one of those ways that you can make them feel seen, heard, and valued by doing a little things outside of the traditional, social platforms that you have out there, and just really making an effort to connect with your consumer and differentiating yourself, adding value.
What's interesting, if you look at the chat, thank you so much for asking that question. I always wonder, the different people that tune in all the time. We have a lot of service providers. I am amazed at the amount of service providers that we have. So that's really fascinating feedback. And what I'm real excited, and I know in some way, shape, or form that you're going to talk about is some concepts that small companies that have not been in sales don't think about, and that is the messaging and the funnel. I know those 2 things are completely different subjects, right? But I have worked with scientists on brand new research, complicated projects, and they can communicate what they do faster than sometimes somebody that's selling a widget on Amazon, okay? And then the sales funnel, they think, "Okay, I'm just gonna make a few calls and that's gonna do it." And I'm like, no, that's not true." So, Kathleen, I'm gonna give you the floor, and I know you have something you may wanna share on your screen. You've got full capability. You just start telling us what we need to know about selling.
Sure. So I'm excited. So what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about is the business side of it, tracking your numbers and really following your sales process, and really it's really important, especially if you're trying to grow and scale your business, to understand what's happening in your business. I know, Laura, I love you always say, don't guess, test
Yeah.
or use measurements and look at the data. So we're going to talk a little bit about, tracking the data for the first part, but then I want to shift to, again, taking the fact of moving from sales being a numbers game into a people game. Like, how do you connect with people and really dive into consumers behave very differently based on their personalities. You have emotional, intuitive buyers, but then you also have very cerebral, logical buyers. And I want to really break down, because if you're trying to either attract people to your business, or once you're have them generate some interest or they're intrigued about your business, how do you sell to them? It's going to be really important to know who your customer is and how they're showing up and how you can communicate your message, your value offer, your product or your service, so that they hear and understand your value proposition from their lens, from how they see things. Because, some people, it's very important to know that you're a small local uh, business, that they want to do somebody, they're very relational business. Other people are very structured and value conscious, budget conscious, and they're really just looking for that ROI and that, what is the, I
Yeah.
want the best product at the least amount of price. So like, how do you balance between who your customer is and a lot of times what turns one customer on can turn another customer off.
Yeah.
Some customers love that FOMO, the exploding offer, the sales. Another person would be like, well, I should just get the best price at any time. Like, and so so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So let's bring this up. I do have a slide. And if you have comments or questions as we're kind of going through here, this
Yeah,
is
I
really
was just gonna say that, Kathleen. Let me do some quick housekeeping for everybody. If you've got questions, guys, put it in the question box, because the chat you guys talk up and I might miss it. And I'm gonna monitor the question box for Kathleen. So make sure you put them in the question box for me. Okay, Kathleen, you go.
awesome. So, my goal here is just to help you develop sales strategies for success. How do you look at your business and really optimize your sales process, and take a look at your whole process from the lead to the initial contact to the presentation, to overcoming objections, to closing your client, then to follow up, and then how to leverage that client to generate more clients to come back to the front process. I mean, you really want to look at your sales cycle as just a continuous loop, because as you bring people into your funnel, you want to kind of understand, where are people falling out? where are people becoming customers? Where are people then referring other customers back to you? And that's one of the things that I really love to work with small business owners and sales professionals, taking a look at the whole cycle. And it's just based on the fact that, you know, if you've ever read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki says the number one skill to have in business is the ability to sell, to influence, whether that is your clients and customers, whether that's relationships with buyers or distributors, whether that's influencing your banks and other people that you're partnering with to buy into you and your ideas. So, you know, whether you know, a lot of people, how do you guys feel about sales? Sometimes people feel like sales is icky, right? They don't want to be known as a salesperson. I'm very proud to be known as a salesperson because I lead with service and I'm going to provide something that I can help you, right? So, but you don't have to use the word sales. If you don't like it, you can change it and use the word influence or leadership, you know, the ability to influence an outcome without being manipulative, without being salesy, without any of that. We just basically want to be able to present our offer and our value proposition in a way that the person sitting across from us can understand and receive. So the ability to sell is really the number one skill in business. And some people have it and some people have to learn and develop it. Some people, it comes naturally. Some people, again, you know, it's a skill that you're going to, just like anything, like a muscle that you need to develop. But before we get into kind of the selling strategy, I want to talk about just knowing your numbers and just asking a few questions as you go through, you know, analyzing your sales cycle. Is you want to be able to measure what's happening and see what's happening. How many of you would you say, you know, on a scale of, you know, 1 to 5, where 1 is I really am just throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what happens, and 5 is I really have a dialed in tracking system to know what's happening in my business? I'd love to know like where you are on a scale of 1 to 5. If you want to put it in the chat, put it in the chat. I would just love to know, like, 1 is like I'm just throwing everything at the wall. 5 is like I'm really dialed in. Because, you know, you really want to have, if you're in sales or in a service provided, a customer relationship management system, some sort of a CRM to track and give you the data that you need. And, you know, in that information, what you want to be tracking is obviously who your client is, how they're coming to you, and then have some processes in place to track them through the funnel. Because again, you want to find out where people are falling off, because in today's business economy, as you know, it's very expensive and can be challenging to get that prospect, that you want to optimize that opportunity to the best you can. And I see some of you are startups, some of you are like mid-range. This is great. So if you're a startup, this is great information to make sure that you're setting up systems that allow you to track this information. And there's tons of resources out there. You know, I started just with a Google form tracking, you know, the client's name, their information, the date they first met, where I found them. But then, you know, we use Jobber as a business platform for us that works for my business. I'm in a concrete service business, and it gives me all the information I need, from setting up the appointment to marketing, reminder emails and messages. There's other resources out there, Pipedrive, HubSpot, Salesforce. It doesn't have to be expensive. There are inexpensive options out there, even free options. But the important thing is to have something to help you track the activity of where people are coming into your funnel and then how they're moving through the funnel. And Lori, feel free to add anything as we go through here. You know,
Trying to give you as much, you know, free will, and I'm actually looking at the people in the chat. It's been really, really interesting. And, you know, I was going to ask you, is there an indication of to somebody when they need to spend money on a software, or when just a Google form will be okay? Because I get asked that a lot, even about accounting software. When can I just stay with the form? And I asked this, Kathleen, because I think sometimes people get into the software too early and they're trying to learn the software and they're missing the main concept of what they're trying to achieve, where a piece of paper and a pencil would have been better. What's your thoughts on that?
my thoughts would be, you know, when you're profitable and that you can invest, but when it becomes too much to manage to where it's actually costing you money, because
Yeah,
think about it, if you can optimize the system, you know, if a Google form is working, but then if all of a sudden people are starting to fall out, you're not following up, you're losing sales because of it, it might be worth it, you know, to spend that, you know, $99 a month, that $200 a month, to have something that can help you capture those sales, because it's going to pay for itself in
makes
the
sense.
gaps that you have.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And what you're going to want, this is what I really want to, and this is kind of related to this. So if you're able to track your number of leads, like your leads, where they're coming in, so you can do the self-assessment and the number of leads, then the percentage of those you're winning. So how many of those leads are actually converting to customers? Now, if you're in an e-commerce business or if you're using a website, there's different metrics that you can use to help optimize conversions off your website. But I'm really speaking to all my service professionals that are in here, people who are looking to really manually track, who's coming in your funnel and how many of those are you selling, right? So what's your win rate? And that percentage is, you just take the number of leads divided by how many who buy, or do the division, and then it's going to give your win rate. And then the average sale. The other thing that's really important is, what is your average sale? I know, Laura, you've talked a lot about this. Certain products might be more profitable than others. You have your product mix, and you can track this for the whole organization as a whole, or maybe you want to specify and narrow in on certain product sets. It's important just to understand, like, what are we going to tracking? What are we going to measure? But like, what is the average sale of your customer? And then the fourth thing is the length of the sales cycle. And this is something that I track with my team we don't track from when they contact us. We track from when we give them a quote. We present them a quote. So as long as you're consistent in your data, it's just important to have a baseline that you're consistent with. So how long is it taking you to get that yes? From when you first meet that customer to when you get the yes. So those, in my opinion, are the four main drivers of what we would call sales velocity. Has anybody heard of sales velocity? You can say yes in the chat, or just let me know. Sales velocity, well, I'll break it down a little bit, but it's basically these four components help you determine your sales velocity. How fast are sales moving through your organization? And one other side note I just want to make for people who are just getting started in business, or maybe you're in business, one of the biggest challenges I hear from a lot of business owners is leads, right? It's really hard to get in front of people. You're either spending money on social, you're spending money on pay-per-click campaigns, you're paying for direct mail, advertising, canvassing, networking. You want to find a way that you also are connecting where the lead source came from as a percentage of the win rate. This is going to help you track the effectiveness of your marketing efforts, because one of the biggest challenges I find, running our sales team, is knowing where to put my money, right? You have limited resources in a marketing budget, and you really want to make sure that you're optimizing that, or putting your resources into the right marketing tools, so that you're getting the greatest return on that. So, there's also, so really take a look at that. Like, for us, Facebook is a really great, inexpensive way for me to get in front of a customer. Pay-per-click is the most expensive for me to get in front of a customer. So I'm paying about 90, maybe $85 to $90 a lead on Facebook. Pay-per-click, I'm paying close to 200, maybe $200 a lead. And I don't want to share these numbers to scare anybody, but it's just the reality of, I'm in a higher ticketed business. But I can get a lot more leads on Facebook, but they convert at a much lower rate than my pay-per-click campaign. So it's really important for me to know that, like, I've actually taken the money, moved it from Facebook to put more into this, because I have a really high close rate if they come to me through a Google search versus if they come through on, a Facebook lead. So it's really important to know, when you're tracking your sales, look at where you're getting them from. And everything is interconnected, as we know, through your business. And I just share that now because this was a challenge for me as a business owner, that for the first couple of years, I burned a lot of cash, because I was just thinking, okay, we're getting the leads. It's great. Facebook is great. It's great, great, great. Until I really started looking at the data, and it showed me that even though we have a lot more, I'm wasting my salespeople's time. I'm burning that time, because we're not selling as many of those clients as we are in other
So,
sources.
Kathleen, I love this slide, and two key points I'd like to add if I could.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the things that, when you talk about the length of sales cycle, I know that's such an important concept when you're talking about sales, but I want to take it to another aspect. As a CFO in especially big companies, I had to follow the length of the sales cycle from the sales department, because it told me from cold call to sell to cash flow. So I literally would look at the salespeople's prospect list, figure out their percent closing rate based on my experience with them, figure out the time period to close, figure out the time period to finish the project, and then figure out the future cash flows. So I just want to go back on your interconnected statement and say, guys, a lot of what we're talking about, you can say, well, I'm not involved in sales as much, but you have to realize that this comes into the finance aspect. And speaking of the finance aspect, like when you were talking about Facebook and stuff, I seen, especially during the pandemic, people spend so much money on social media and their sales may have went up, but because of the cost they spent or they did it at a discount, their profitability went down. So it is always tied into not every sale is a good sale either. So I just wanted to add that if I may.
Absolutely. And it is so important. And that's why I just love the value of, sales and finance have to have a close relationship. Again, getting back, like you said, not every sale is a profitable sale. And sometimes it's as hard as it is on the sales side. We always want that win, win, win. We want that number. But sometimes, that's the conflict we have, that it's just better to walk away or not take that business if it's going to cost you money and not cover your variable expenses,
Yeah, thank you for saying that because
yeah.
that is a hard lesson for people to learn, and I'm telling that to people quite often during the week, saying, you're. In fact, my famous statement is, I'm like, so do you want to be more tired and more broke? And I know some of the people in the audience that have met on with me one on one, you probably got the Lori, do you want to be more tired and more broke discussion.
Yeah. And I want to tie this back in. We don't want to be more tired or more broke. We want to be we want to feel good about our business. We want to spend less time in the business, right? We want to be able to have it work for us. And the sales velocity is a good equation. And I dig into more of this in the master class that I'm going to share you at the end. I do have a 2-day it's a 4-hour masterclass, 2 hours each day. We dig into some of these concepts a little bit deeper, but the sales velocity equation is a good way to track just the pace at which the sales volume is coming into your organization on a daily basis. And, again, it's those 4 things I talked about: the number of sales opportunities you have, your average deal value, and your win rate. And as Lori mentioned, this length of the sales cycle is on the bottom. And this is a division equation. So what do you think has the greatest impact of all 4 of these things has on your sales velocity equation? I just want to see if our friends know. So just out of all 4 of it, which one of these has the greatest impact on your sales velocity equation?
We'll see what anybody says. I'm going to keep out of this. I'm going to keep this to the audience. Any guesses and anybody in the audience? Come on, go ahead, be
They
brave.
just guessed. You can be wrong.
Got a length of sales here. We got length, we got L, we got win rate. Length seems to be, yep.
Yeah.
Win rate.
So they're all really important. And the one we probably have the biggest impact on that we can drive is really the win rate and the length of sales cycle. But because it's a division mathematical equation, the length of the sales cycle, by shortening that, is going to increase your sales velocity, have the greatest impact. However, all 4 are very important. And we're going to talk a little bit today how to improve the win rate, right? You're spending time to get you need the leads, right? And I'm going to show you a little quick reverse engineering calculation, right? Because it's really important to know, like, how many of you know how many people you need to be speaking to hit your sales and income goals, right? You need to be able to back into that. And I have a quick little equation. I'm going to just see if I could escape this here. And if I could I might have to stop. Oh, there we go. I want to bring this up. Can you see my
Yep, I can. Yep, I love it. The SBDC sales calculators.
so I made this just for you guys today, just to give you a little bit of example. So and I can share some of this. If you sign up for the masterclass, even if you can't come, you get in my funnel, I could send you the email from today. Just let us know that. And I'll send the calculator, Google Sheet. It's just a Google form. But basically, like, what is your income goal? And you can help me, Lori, here. If usually I use this a lot with salespeople, and I use their commission. So I help salespeople figure out their commission. But we're going to use, because most of you are business owners, right? And you want to know, how much do I want to make this year?
Yep.
And we're going to use the net profit margin decimal. Is that okay? Are you comfortable with that?
Yep, like that.
Okay. So let's just say your income goal was 150,000 for the year, and your net profit margin percentage, if anybody tracks it and knows, I'm happy to do a little example for you, but I would just say, let's say it's 8%. Do you have a number that you would like to use, Lori, or what would you say?
I'd love to say that many people have 8%, but I tell you, Kathleen, to be honest, I see 2 to 3. I know that sounds horrific, but that's what I see. I'd say 3 would probably be more reasonable. I'd love it not to be true, but that's about what I see.
Okay. And see, look at how dramatically that changed it,
Yep.
right? So if you
That's
had
why profit matters. That's why I always say it goes straight to the bottom line. Everything is about your gross profit and then your net profit.
yeah. So if you we're going to use the net profit margins. This was your income goal. You need $5 million in sales. And if we keep going here, so if we needed $5 million in sales, what is an average deal value? Like for my company, my average deal value is about $4,500, right? So that means I need to have at least 11,112 deals, right? So what we do is you can take that and let's just say, how many of the prospects are you getting in front of that you're closing? Like if your win rate is 25%. Now, I had some salespeople that were about 25%, and that's probably a norm for a lot of people. And I'm going to explain to you why 25% is the baseline. And it's going to come down to personality, because there's basically primary 4 personality types. And we're typically one of those. And we're typically selling to people who are like us. We're making that connection, like know and trust. And if your win rate was 25%, you need 1,112 deals. That means you need 4,448 prospects.
Yep.
Okay. Now look at what happens if you can move this number, and if we can increase it, to 30%. Right.
It goes drastically, yeah. And Kathleen, I got to make a note that for the service providers out there, when I say the 3%, that's a lot of companies that have infrastructure, a lot of infrastructure to do their offerings. Service providers, and may I call them solopreneurs, that's the thing. The people are selling their service, and whether they're a massage therapist or a consultant or physical therapist or doing web design, like it doesn't matter. It just means that they don't have a brick and mortar, they don't have employees, they don't have all this stuff. Their profit margins can be a 10, 11%. That's why I think it's so hilarious. Everybody is bent on this. I got to make a big corporation. I got to do this. And I'm like, well, you be a solopreneur hanging out by yourself in your home office. You're probably making more money than the other people.
Yeah. So let's just say if it was somebody who had a 10% profit margin, they needed 1.5 million. If their average deal value is probably a little bit less.
Right. Right.
Maybe it's, I don't know, let's just say 500.
Yep. Yep.
Just changes the numbers a little bit, but you can see, so you can play with it. So it tells you the number of leads, 10,000 leads. That's for the year, and you can reverse engineer and break it down to daily, weekly, numbers. But I just encourage you to, kind of play with your numbers and just kind of see what it's going to take, and where you kind of want to go and need to be, just driving these different numbers. And I'm going to just bring this back up.
Yeah, and Kathleen, on a comment on that, and I'll do it really quick though. Back in the days, doing turnaround, I also would oversee the sales groups, and I created a document like you're speaking of, but I actually took it from how many times, how many calls did you make, what percentage did you get to return the call, what percentage made an appointment, what I literally detailed the process, right? Because I said, I'm not going to create quotas. It only makes people feel bad. And then I would be able to analyze, were they not calling enough people? Were they not converting people? Were they not converting them after the meeting them? Were they not converting them after the proposal? And it also gave me and them clues on where to receive additional training. And so I love what you did, because most people don't look at, well, how many leads? And then I would have them do the same thing. How much do you want to make? And they go, I want to make this amount. And I go, well, based on your conversion rates, you're going to have to do a lot more phone calls. So I just love what you did.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And it is so true. And like what I like to do, a mind game that I play with myself is, when I know my numbers, I actually know how many calls or appointments I need to hit that number. So I'll think of it like every time I show up at an appointment, I put $50 in my pocket, whether I sell them or not, because I average it out. So what you can do is trick your mind to say, like, divide it out so that you know, like, every phone call, you made $20 on that phone call, whether you set the appointment or not. But if you know you need this, 100 phone calls to make this amount of money, you can then divide that into the activity. And so each activity, you're at least rewarding yourself, saying, I know I don't see it now. It doesn't feel like a win because they said no, but I know that every time I pick up the phone, it's $20 for me. It's $20 for me based on my numbers. So
Yeah, and then another thought I had, I know we have a couple, people e-commerce, several e-commerce. I'm assuming you could also do something else that compares, I'm selling here on this platform, I'm selling over on this platform, it may be Amazon or Etsy, and start seeing how much effort are you putting into what? And you can even put your effort and how much is the return. Because so many times I see people on platforms and they're investing marketing on a platform that's not even returning anything beneficial to them. That's no different than calling on a bad lead.
yeah. Yeah, so true. And there was a question Martin asked, what if the quality of the lead is not there? And that's again, just knowing where your leads are coming from, qualifying your customer through the sales process, and just really identifying, do they have the willingness? Do they have the resources, the ability to pay? Are they the decision maker? Just really getting in and, really taking a look at where your lead sources are coming from, and maybe having to shift the pond that you're fishing in because you want to be able to catch the right type of a buyer. And this was a really powerful slide that this is going to segue into the next part of what I think is really important, is helping understand why people buy, right? We can talk about how to sell, but there's also a science to why people buy from you. And the Challey Group did a study, and their study revealed that only 18% of buyers will buy from a salesperson that doesn't match the buyer's personality type, versus 82% success rate when personality types are aligned. And this somewhat supports the saying that a lot of people say, well, people buy from people all things being equal, people they like, know, and trust.
Yep. Yep. It
And so
comes.
how do you make that that connection with somebody, that personality match, or how do you make that connection so that they are inclined to choose business with you over your competitor, where it then becomes the differentiator in the conversation? We've been told a lot of times that sales is a numbers game, which we just reviewed it somewhat is in a sense, but you can affect the numbers. Don't treat the approach as just strictly a numbers game, meaning that you're just looking at it. If I call 100, I'm going to close 25, right? Well, let's say if I call 100, I can move it to where I can close 50, because what it is, it's not strictly just that numbers game. Once you understand people, you can move the numbers by understanding, instead of going for what it says, go for no. You have to get more no's to get more yeses. You know what? Instead, go for yes, right? What can we do to get the yes, rather than just saying, it's just another no, it's just another number. I don't want you to have that mentality. I want you to have the mentality of that you can go for yes. And there are things that you can do, training and development and approaches with your customer, that can unlock the yes and avoid the no, so that you can move those numbers in your favor to move your close rate from 25%, to 30, 40, 50%.
And that's crucial, Kathleen, for the small business owner, because they got to run the company, do the product, oversee the employees, and be the salesperson. They can't do the numbers game like somebody who's on a salary plus commission salesperson.
Right. And you want to spend less time chasing people, and you want to really be more effective, like you said, and move through your clients, get them locked in to do business with you, and just understand that sales is such a people game. And more so now in our economy going forward, again, it's relational selling. People are craving service again. One of the things that I hear all the time in my business, and I would recommend, if you have to have a virtual number or something, is pick up the phone. I cannot tell you, like when I talk to marketing, people always come in, your girl answers the phone all the time. 95% of our calls, she picks up during business hours, right? Unless she's on another call. So many companies say, oh, call 'em back, leave a message, call 'em back. But people want to talk to a,
human being. That's our expression now. Is there a human being I can talk to? That's so frustration with companies. Where's the human being?
Right. So how do we move past this? I'm going to just kind of go through quickly, just a high level of this again. So how do you move the needle? You want to be in the 82%, like raise your hand. Who here would love to be able, without changing who you are fundamentally, without being slimy or sales tricks, you really want to make authentic connections with people, right? And how do you do that? And, we're going to take a look at the most common mistakes is that you're talking to different personalities and different peoples, and people have different buying behavior of why they buy, right? And what happens, the reason sales is pretty much 25% is the baseline standard. Like a lot of numbers you look at, people say, oh, you should be closing a quarter of them. Well, that's because 25% of the times, whatever personality you are is connecting with that other personality, you're getting the sales, right? However, so 1 out of 4 times you're delivering the right script. 3 out of 4 times you're delivering the wrong script. So you deliver the wrong script 75% of the time. It's so important to know who your customer is so that you can position your offer and your value proposition to connect with them. And we're going to break it down on Bank is a book that was written by Sherry Tree, where she actually cracked the code to helping understand why people buy. And it's the only methodology in the world that's scientifically validated to predict buying behavior. She has studies and tests that when it's applied to sales and relationships, that you're able to have that influence once you understand the different personality types. Now, how many of you have ever taken a personality assessment? Anybody? Right? Why do we take them? We're fascinated about ourselves, but so many companies use them for so many different reasons. We didn't develop the personality science. It's like if you've taken the colors test or the disc tests or a lot of these, they're broken into 4 fundamental personality types. And we're going to talk about Bank because we want to take our sales to the bank. And so what we're doing is a perspective of understanding 4 fundamental personality types that you're going to run into in your sales presentation. And the 4 personality types are blueprint, action, nurturing, and knowledge, right? And I'd love to know in the comment, when you answer this question, rules were made to be
Broken.
broken, right? How many said rules were made to be followed, right? Very
Oh, I say
different.
broken immediately. I didn't even think of the word followed. That's so funny. You're right. That
Rules
is
are made
the
to
way
be
it's supposed
broken,
to be.
followed, stretched, right? Are they guidelines? Okay.
Broken.
So this is important to know because I would go with broken. Like they're kind of guidelines. What's the true intent of it, right? Like rules are made to be, right? But let's talk about each personality type. So I just want to do high level, and I want you to think about your customers or your approach that when you're approaching somebody, a lot of times you don't know who they are. So what we have to do is kind of show up like we're serving all of them until we can start narrowing down by cues, word structure, different things to who we're in front of. But like, for example, blueprints are somebody who believe that rules are very important. They are inside the box. They are somebody who follows, they're in the box. They value things like stability, structure, systems, planning, processes, predictability. Are you on time for your sales appointment? Not being on time could break a deal with a blueprint. Responsibility, duty, rules. In the sales conversation, if you tell a blueprint type personality, oh, you know what, I'm really not supposed to do this, but I can throw in X, Y, and Z, that is gonna create a red flag for a blueprint that they're not going to be able to trust you to follow the rules because rules are very important to them. Credentials, titles, tradition, they're very formal. They're probably the person who meets you with a handshake. They're the ones scheduling their appointment in advance. There's somebody who might call and says, I'm in the planning process. I just want to have you out and come out with a quick quote. They're probably planning way ahead, different things like that. So, with blueprint personality, of course, you want to be professional, organized, on time. You want to have a step-by-step plan. What does it look like to do business with you? Blueprints, you don't want to be too pushy or exaggerate things. You want to stay within their budget. You want to have your facts straight and in a resource that you can share with them. You want to show them what a system of success looks like, and you want to minimize the risk to get involved with you. So they live in the past. They're going to bring up past experiences that they had with other service providers, contractors, and use that in decision making. So when you're selling to them, you want to understand what pain points like a blueprint might have, like, oh, isn't it, I know like a home remodel project, the biggest thing we do here is communicate with our clients, let them know throughout the whole process what's happening, right? Because a big pain point is, a lot of times contractors, they show up, they don't come back for 3 days. You have no idea when the next time they're coming back. We like to over communicate. You'll always know when we're coming back, right? Very different from the action personality. This personality is one who says rules are made to be broken. They're outside the box. What box? There is no box. They value freedom, flexibility, spontaneity, action, opportunity, excitement, stimulation. This is get to the bottom line. Just tell me what it's going to do for me. I don't really, I don't care about the exchange policy. I don't care about all the other stuff. I just want to know how much is it going to be? When can I get it done? What's it going to do for me? They value competition, winning, fun, image, right? This is a personality that would love an exploding offer or discount. They have FOMO, right? They don't want to miss out on something. They are somebody who says, oh, if you buy today, you're going to get this special bonus. Whereas the blueprint, that might turn them off, thinking, well, a blueprint's very structured. Action also might be somebody who wants options. They want to know, they want to have the flexibility to change the process. Do I have to do it this way? Can I do it this way? Whereas the blueprint wants to follow the process. So again, it's very important to understand who is the client that you're in front of and how can we communicate that we're serving their need, that we're connecting with them. And, again, by just really learning these values, you can take screenshots as we go through here. Just keep these in mind. You'll start seeing it when you're seeing people, how they're reacting, like an actions probably was late, or, hey, can you come tomorrow? I'm moving in. I need this installed next week. That's not something that a blueprint's going to do. So you can tell, kind of gauge who your clients are. The next thing is nurturing. So nurturing is a very different type of customer. Nurture is like an action they're going to buy with their gut intuition. They're somebody who values relationships, authenticity. They want to know that you care more about them than the dollar, that they're going to want to know about your teamwork, your involvement in the community, charity, ethics, how they fit into, we depend on customers like you to keep our small business going. Like those things are going to resonate with a nurturer. You want to be authentic, show them that you care more about them. Lead with service with them. Talk about, causes that you're personally passionate with. These are somebody who, when you meet them, might shake your hand and, put the hand over it, right? Or like I've had customers hug me when I come to their house just before I meet them. That's telling you that they're probably a nurturer and how to lean in to that part of the conversation. I know I'm kind of going through these quickly because I just want to just give you an overview and introduction about the different personality types. And I can give you a free ebook to the Why They Buy personality book, that digital copy that digs into deeper than that. And in our sales masterclass, we kind of dive deeper into some of these. The last one I want to talk about is a knowledge type. This is somebody who, unlike the nurture who recycled the box, the action who said there is no box, the blueprint who lives in the box. This is the one who designed the box. They engineered the box, right? They value learning, intelligence, logic. They're going to very linear. They're, again, like the blueprint, straight line. They want to know the process systems. They're somebody that probably knows more about your product and has done research on your company and you before you meet with them. They value expertise, the technology, research and development. This is somebody, unlike the action, who wants the details, the specifics. They want to know the fine print. They're going to be somebody who's going to be testing you for your competence. And if you are not the expert, knowing that you can connect them to an expert is going to help you move this person forward. With a knowledge personality, you want to know your information, have resources and documents you can share with them. You want to be very logical in your approach with a knowledge personality type. And you want to be able to, they might challenge you or want to debate you on to test you to see if you really know what you're talking about. And you have to be able to, this is where it's really important to know your product, your service, your value proposition. Allow them to do the research. Ks are people that you can't close them quickly. Like they're going to be everybody else who tells you I have to think about it is lying to you. A knowledge personality really has to think about it because they want to do their research. Everybody else is something's missing in the process that you didn't connect the dots for them. And um, most of the other personality types will, you know, make a decision, but a knowledge, they have to research it. So, you know, again, just understanding who's sitting in front of you and what they need. You know, it's really important to let your prospect determine your presentation. So you can say the same things about your company. And just, you know, if I said, you know, we've been in business 30 years, we have lots of experience doing that, who's going to be somebody that values that? Like a
Okay.
blueprint,
Yep.
stability.
I really like what you've done in your presentation today. So a couple things, quick shout out as we're getting near the end. I want to make sure everybody sees that you have information. Oh, you've got the scan code as well. You've got Kathleen's information in the chat if you guys want to sign up for additional classes that she offers, as well as get access to some of the things that she's speaking about. I can't give them to you through my forum with the SBDC, but you guys go directly to Kathleen and she'll give them to you. I wanted to kind of add a few interesting things that I thought about this, Kathleen, is that I think, and I could be wrong, you guys can let me know in the chat, but I think for many of the small businesses, they may have never gone through any type of sale training whatsoever. So this is the first insight to things such as, how do I go about measuring things? How do I manage the sales funnel? How do I look at my activities? And then a clue into how having an awareness of the personality you're selling to and changing your approach differently can actually give you a better outcome, and you invest less time in making sales that say no and sales that say yes. So I think this was a possibly first view for many people that have never had a sales background training, and the importance of it, independent of you're only selling a few things through some platforms or you're selling one-on-one as part of your everyday experience. Knowing how to sell and how to sell effectively is so important. And like you said, some people just have a natural, innate ability to detect it, but many people do not. And it is a learned skill that anybody can learn.
So true. And thank you, Lori, so much for saying that. And it is just a great introduction, not only understanding personality from on the front end, like really how to attract people and to craft your messages so that you're attracting all four personalities and people into your lead funnel and on social. So it kind of weaves through everything. But I just hope that a little bit about what I shared today just helped you think about some things. And if, like Lori said, you need help on kind of decoding your customers, you know, that's something I can help you with. Or, you know, the free ebook that Sherry wrote is great. Why They Buy ebook. I can also give you discounted access to her hard copy books if you want, just to understand. And then also some other sales trainings and tools that can help you optimize your sales cycle and not leave any customer falling out through the process, so that you can really save yourself time and money by really just focusing on the things that are going to give you the greatest return on your time and investment.
You know, and going back to your company, I mean, you really did have a meteoric rise in sales volume from being just a startup in a very short period of time. And I really do see it as being your husband being so experienced and expertise on the production side, if I can just call it that. And then you also coming in with this high background knowledge and capability on the sales side. You put you guys together, you had a product that you trusted and, you know, to sell. He had a salesperson out there knocking on the door, which he was not, but he was great at running the crews. That's why I think you got to such a high sales volume and are succeeding so well so quickly, is the dynamic. So what I'm really saying is that it's paid for you. Some people don't have that connection, but never underestimate the need to have both a strong sales presence, whatever that means within your company, a strong operations presence, and a strong financial understanding. Because whether you're a small company, a solopreneur, like I said, where you're just you still have to focus on all the different disciplines that lead to success in companies. Well, Kathleen, thank you so much for coming back on and sharing this. I hope I could tell from the audience, you know, they really have benefited. So please, guys, check out what Kathleen has to offer. Make selling and sales techniques part of your learning process. Any last words you'd like to leave with the audience, Kathleen?
Thank you guys for investing in yourselves and showing up to just elevate your business. And Lori and her team in the small business development is such a great resource. Use the resources available because so many of them are free, and you'll just get such great information and keep showing up, because I've been in business, my whole adult life, and I still learn something every time I take a new webinar or a class. And I'm just so excited to have the opportunity to share with you today, and wish you much success as you launch or grow and scale your business.
Well, look at in the chat, all the wonderful, wonderful comments. So Sadie, I'm going to bring you back in to close off. Now, keep in mind, guys, that I'm going to click off and Kathleen's going to click off in just a minute, but do not be concerned because Sadie is staying in the chat. She is going to make sure that you get Kathleen's information, my information. You'll have plenty of time to do any follow-up. So Sadie, I'll let you close us out here.
Wow, that's all I can say. I mean, seriously, I'm reposting everything, folks. Don't worry, because we had so much activity in the chat. So like Lori said, don't worry, I'm going through, but yes, great presentation. I'm doing a little clap over there. And the biggest thing I want to say is, or I thought about, it's the word abundance. I'm like, everyone here is helping one another. If you guys look at the session for the sales training, that's free. I also put in the information for the SBDC because we offer so many things. I saw people asking about the Excel sheet and how you do those forms. And I'm like, you know what? If you're not a client of the SBDC, please sign up. We have, one-on-one consultations, like we said, and we have advisors because Lori is only one person. So she cannot help everyone. So I know you guys want to talk to Lori specifically. She's great. I'm going to put her contact info. But like I said, we love Lori, but she's only one. So let's get you a one-on-one advisor. And for some things, maybe Lori can reach out to you. Like we said, we all help one another.
Absolutely. Well, Kathleen, thank you again for your time. I know you're going to have many people coming into your sales training, which is going to help in their business success. So to everybody, my frequent flyers, love you for being here with me every single week. If you were new, please do check in next week. We always have a great show. And thank you once again for watching Small Biz Talk with your host, Lori Williams. I will see you next week. Bye, Kathleen. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.